It may be snowing outside, but the gym is heating up in the new gymnasium at Ashburnham, Westminster Regional School District, Oakmont Regional High School, as we get you set for the wrap of the winter season here on Rivalry Family Media. It's the Pod 6 boys basketball final coming up as the undefeated Oakmont Regional Spartans play host to the Leominster High School Blue Devils. They came in as the third seed. Oakmont, obviously the top seed. Both teams were able to successfully navigate their first round opponents, and they find themselves in a matchup this evening. Thanks to our friends at Ashburnham Westminster Community Access Television, AWCATV, we will have simulcast and restreaming coverage available for you right here on Rivalry Family Media. Coming up in a matter of moments, we'll head out to Ashburnham for that coverage. In the meantime, here inside the home studio of Rivalry Family Media, we say good evening to you. Kate Robbins, Todd Robbins, happy to have you along with us for our third straight evening of basketball coverage during this February school vacation time period. It's great to have you with us. And Kate, again, the snow looked fantastic outside, falling in the neighborhood. And of course, I know that's what the team's been riding in on their way up to Ashburnham, getting set for a battle tonight where they know the task. It was only 1 week ago when they hosted Oakmont inside the gym at Leominster High School. It was the only time the two teams met because, of course, the first scheduled Week 5 meeting when they were supposed to play each other in a home-and-home were canceled due to COVID concerns out at Oakmont, so that delayed everything until that 6th week Saturday. They play each other, and Oakmont demonstrated why they are the team that they have been throughout the year. A victory over the Blue Devils in that matchup by a 59-42 score. But that seemed to only awaken the Blue Devils if you look at their opening round matchup when they played Fitchburg, a team that they had lost to twice previously during this season in the very same week. A 55-48 victory over the arch rival the other night to get themselves into this pod final for the Blue Devils. It seems like perhaps that loss to Oakmont might have triggered something that certainly came out in the Fitchburg game, and now they get another crack at Oakmont. They bring their same game from that Fitchburg game the other night, and I think we're talking about a much different basketball game.
So just a few things to tackle there off the top. You've set the table with all sorts of different things for me to talk about. First and foremost, relative to Mother Nature, I think that both of these teams are probably very thankful that Mother Nature cooperated. There were conversations earlier in the week because the semifinal games between Leominster and Fitchburg had to kind of be juggled around, not necessarily the boys' game, but the fact that there was a girls' game that got moved just prior to it kind of set up a really interesting girls and then boys Leominster at Fitchburg situation. But I'm certain that both Oakmont and Leominster are thankful that the snow has basically just been serene and serene enough that it has not put a damper on things relative to scheduling. When you are an athlete or when you're a member of a coaching staff and you have that ability to just simply go along with a schedule, that's a huge relief. That means that you're not having to switch things. Your routine can continue to be what it has always been, which is always a great thing. Then when you talk about the competition itself, I know that if you are an avid watcher or an avid listener or an avid fan of Leominster boys basketball, you've heard me and you discuss this multiple times throughout the last week and a half, but it bears repeating because in my estimation, Leominster can directly thank the Oakmont boys basketball team for getting them prepped and able to be able to beat Fitchburg. I don't think that if Leominster played anybody other than Oakmont prior to going up against Fitchburg, unless maybe they played Fitchburg that few days before the pod playoffs, I don't think that Leominster would have been as prepared as they were going into the Grutch, going into Fitchburg, going into enemy territory, and being able to perform at the level that they did. Again, we hearken back to the opponent prior to Oakmont, the home and home against Quabbin, in which Leominster was most decidedly not playing their best basketball of the season, and you can ask anybody associated with the program. The coaching staff was very candid with us after the game that we saw at the gym at Leominster High School that although Leominster was able to squeak out a win against Quabbin in that matchup, that the coaching staff knew that if they continued to play that level of basketball, then number one, they weren't going to beat Quabbin again, which came to fruition just a few days later. Not only that, but they would have no business going up against Oakmont thinking that they were even going to be able to keep it close. And then by, the process of either, osmosis or whatever you want to call it, or, transitive properties, they wouldn't then be able to go into the Grutch and beat Fitchburg, a team that they were not incredibly successful against in the regular season either. So in my estimation, if I'm Leominster, I'm walking across the gym in Ashburnham tonight going, thank you so much for helping us get to the finals, because it truly is a direct correlation with their performance against Oakmont in the last game of the regular season. Although a loss for Leominster, I think it does directly translate to the high level of basketball that we're seeing Leominster play in this last week. This February vacation week. I think it's been a marked improvement.
No question about it. Sometimes it just takes a good spark, and that spark in this case was provided by the Spartans last Saturday. Kate referenced, of course, the progression of Leominster's schedule, and we've chronicled it a bit throughout the broadcast
Just
this
a bit.
week, but it bears repeating.
See?
Sweeps over Narragansett, sweeps over Gardner, so 4 straight wins in the first 2 weeks, and then swept by the Red Raiders. Back-to-back losses on January 25th and 28th. Then they beat Quabbin in the first game of that week, February 8th, a 40-32 win. Then immediately and promptly on the Thursday of the same week, they lose to Quabbin by a 56-44 mark. Then they lose to Oakmont 59-42 last Saturday. And then Leominster picks up their most recent victory in that pod semifinal that opened things up, a 55-48 victory over the Red Raiders the other night, playing what was clearly their best basketball of the season. Meanwhile, if you're on the other side of the gym and you're Coach Danny Ortiz's bunch, well, frankly, things couldn't be going much better for you. You've beat everybody they've put in front of you. You're undefeated. The only problem is that when you are that undefeated team, and we can go through sports history and talk about it, aside from maybe the Dolphins of the 1970s, wearing that undefeated title is like wearing an anchor around your neck. As every night you go out on the floor, you are just one game away from losing that undefeated position or that undefeated title throughout that process. So it is that very delicate balance of being able to appreciate where you are, appreciate your success, continue to grow in your success, but at the same time to bear notice on the fact that you are but one game away, one poor effort, one flat start away. And it was almost last Saturday, as they were flat in the first half. Missed a lot of shots, kept Leominster in the basketball game, and then figured their things out in the second half. This Oakmont team is far from unbeatable, but they have been unbeaten in this basketball season.
Now, although I don't disagree with anything that you just said, I think that there are more considerable variables to put into perspective as well. Oakmont was a team, and we noted it in the pregame when we were live in the gym at Leominster High School when they had that matchup. Oakmont is an incredibly confident team. They're in a situation where they're, and deservedly so, they've gone lossless at this point in time, and going in toward the end of their season. It was their last regular season game. And so you have a situation where they're incredibly confident. And I specifically noted it didn't look like they were cocky. They just know what it is that they're capable of. And so you didn't see in that first half that although they may have trailed, they had kept Leominster close in that game, at no point was there a point in time where Oakmont panicked. There wasn't a single nanosecond where that Oakmont team, that Oakmont boys team panicked at any point in time. They just kept playing their brand of basketball. They relied on their heavy hitters, and essentially they were able to work themselves back into the basketball game. The only other item that I'd like to note relative to that is that as the undefeated team, yes, I will certainly grant you that that undefeated record does loom heavy over your head in trying to maintain that. But I think the more apt item that you have to think about is Oakmont came into this season knowing that they were, going to be one of the perennial favorites. Of course, Fitchburg and Leominster, having historically good basketball teams as well, were going to be part of the conversation. But Oakmont went into this season knowing essentially where they were going to stand. So I think rather than them having that looming feeling, the difficulty becomes that you're going to get the biggest swing out of your opponent every single night. Because every single night during the regular season that you play an opponent, they know what they're going up against and they're trying to play up to their competition. So I do think that there are several variables at play when you are kind of the undisputed number one seed, you're undefeated at the end of the regular season, and you are essentially, looked upon as this de facto number one. So it's going to be a very interesting situation. But I think, like we had discussed, Leominster is in a situation where right now they're playing their best basketball of the season, and we'll have to see how that translates here in a pod final matchup.
As you can see on your screen, box to our left, we've got our first look inside the new gym at Ashburnham Regional Vocational. No, check that.
No,
wow,
stop.
I just totally went vocational.
Go.
Ashburnham Westminster Regional School District and Oakmont Regional High School. You get your first look out there tonight.
It's a beautiful gym.
It is. It's a beautiful gym. First time we're getting a live look inside of there, thanks to AWCATV this evening, to be able to provide you this view. You can see in the window above some of the snowflakes falling as well, and I'm glad to see, and I know that initially there was a little bit of fuzz there. They've been able to clear that up on the transmission as well. And you can see both teams, Kate. I think the thing that stands out to me as we're looking at both schools go through their warm-ups right now is the controlled, the poised nature on both sides. Nobody appears to be over-energetic.
Right.
Nobody appears to be under-energetic. Everyone just appears like they're calm. They know what they're doing. They're going through their pre-game routines. You can see Leominster working on their passes, and I know for Coach Crutchfield's squad, at the end of the day, they are a defensive squad.
Yes.
They're a squad that is based in defense, but
That
sure passes are the key
That
point.
wasn't clear to me before we had the opportunity to work on the senior video for the end of the year when we showed up for practice on Monday. If defense being the hallmark of this Leominster High School basketball team was not clear to me before I entered that gym on that day, that was emblazoned upon my brain that when you're dealing with Coach Kevin Crutchfield, defense is what marks the day for him. Elaine Barrio brings up a great point on our Facebook Live comment section. She says, remember the 2007 Pats and Giants? You had your undefeated Patriots going into that Super Bowl, and we won't even talk about the catch up against the helmet. I can't even discuss it. I can't think about it. I don't want to. That game I try to forget about, and the fact that Eli Manning is able to get multiple championships against our New England Patriots, I can't even go there. But thank you, Elaine, for that lovely memory, and you are absolutely correct.
It wasn't accidental that I went all the way back to the Dolphins in order to cite
It's just too painful.
cite my example
It's still
as we
too early.
went through the process. I was going to say
over a decade later.
It might be a little
It's
while
still too early.
to go as we look down the line. But here's some of the notes that I think are important as we're watching the teams warm up here, Kate. And I think, when you look at Oakmont, I mean, listen to some of these numbers. And Leominster, of course, is the closest corollary in teams as far as average allowed and average scored per game. Oakmont is scoring 63.3 points per game. They are allowing defensively 43.7 points per game. Mm-hmm. Leominster is scoring an average of 60.7 points per game, while allowing 47.5 points per game. And in the last matchup of these two teams, Leominster lost the game by a 59-42 score. Oakmont was held under their 63.3 average in that game, and Leominster was held by Oakmont's defense just under Oakmont's allowed season average of 43.7 points, but Leominster was almost 20 points under their season average in that game.
And because we are most closely associated with Leominster, and because we know them best out of the bunch, out of the pod, we can speak to the fact that that hallmark of their defense routinely has been keeping other schools well below their season average or point per game average. And so basically what we're expecting is, once again, a fairly low-scoring affair. But does Leominster have all facets of their game, especially in transition, defense to offense? Do they have all of the dynamicism in their game at the top that they can play in order to be able to keep pace with an incredibly dynamic, incredibly high-scoring offense that has been the hallmark of Oakmont for their season? It's going to be very interesting. I think, obviously, once again, you're going to see that Oakmont number come down a bit in their point per game up against their average, but does Leominster have enough on the offensive end to be able to keep up with what Oakmont is able to produce on their offensive end? That, to me, is going to be the big question. And really, it's generated through their defense. Leominster's defense has to be sterling. It can't just be good. It has to be sterling. And much like we talked about last night with the girls against Quabbin, they need to be great in transition. And any time that their defense is able to generate a turnover or stop a score from Oakmont, Leominster's offense then needs to be able to counter and take advantage advantage and capitalize on every opportunity that they get on offense in order for them to really, truly, number one, stay in this game, and number two, be victorious. Like you said, Oakmont is very deserving of their number one seed. Leominster's been playing the best basketball that they have all season long. I think it's going to be a fairly close game if the right version of Leominster shows up. If the wrong version of Leominster shows up, we're going to have a situation where it might be a low-scoring affair, but Leominster's not going to have enough horses to get it across the finish line. If Leominster plays to their best capability, I think we're going to have a ball game, and it's anybody's game at that point.
And we talked about this the last time that we had this broadcast a week or so ago with Oakmont and Leominster, and that had a lot to do with you understanding your team and understanding yourself. And again, I put it in the horse racing perspective on that broadcast where I said, as a jockey, you know how much the horse underneath you has and what kind of kick they have to be able to catch the leader when they get out in front of you. So how far behind can you fall on your lap around the course before you need to giddy up in order to catch up? What's that point where there's too far a lead in front of you and you don't have enough horse to catch up? I was looking, Kate, while you were talking at a couple of different items. Quabbin has been the closest all year to Oakmont, and the closest that they have come, 9 points. So that was the semifinal game the other night. That's the closest differential, still a win, but a 9-point win for the Spartans in that game. That is the closest any team has come in order to beat this Oakmont team, and they haven't gotten there yet. Can Leominster do it tonight? We'll find out together. It's Leominster and Oakmont, the Pod 6 Boys Basketball 2021 Pod Final, and it's right here on Rivalry Family Media. We join the public address announcer inside the new gym at Ashburnham Westminster Regional for this one.
High School Blue Devils and your Oakmont Spartans. We'd like to take this time to introduce the starting lineups. First, for the visiting Blue Devils of Leominster. Starting at forward, the senior, number 12, Brian Perez. Starting at guard, a junior, number 23, Warren Asias. Starting at center, a senior, number 25, Isaac Tyson. Starting at guard, a sophomore, number 33, Justin Dada. And starting at guard, a senior, number 44, Nico Delakiai. The Blue Devils are led by head coach Kevin Crutchfield, assisted by Justin Dada and John Cordio. And now the starting lineups for your Oakmont Spartans. Starting at guard, a senior, number 2, Colton Bossele. Starting at guard, a sophomore, number 3, Brandon Gulecki. Starting at forward, a sophomore, number 5, Ryan Gulecki. Starting at forward, a junior, number 11, Jalen Kirkland. And starting at center, a senior, number 23, Matt Arcangeli. The Spartans are led by head coach Danny Ortiz, assisted by Josh Pantojas and Ryan Billings. Ladies and gentlemen, we're able to play tonight's basketball game because of the sacrifices of our veterans, both past and present, and the members of our armed services that are currently serving all of us today. We ask that everyone please stand as we honor them and our country with the playing of our national anthem.
And with that, we're ready for basketball from the new gym at Oakmont Regional. Once again, we thank our friends from Ashburnham, Westminster Community Access Television, AWCATV, for their generous partnership in being able to provide pool footage this evening. Great to have you along with us here on Rivalry Family Media, Facebook.com/Media Rivalry, joining you the world over this evening. The second screen discussion has already begun. It's like old home week, Kate said to me as we watched on during the national anthem and looked at the conversation. It's great to have you all with us. As the teams head out for first possession, Leominster goes with a modified version of their starting five. They've had a few different versions throughout the year. This one brings Dada back into the starting five. Nico Delikiai, part of that starting five as well. All three Blue Devil seniors are on the floor. As Tyson backs down Arcangeli for the turnaround shot to open the ball game, Leominster draws first blood 15 seconds into this one.
Tyson's going to be very important for Leominster in the paint. He did a great job against Fitchburg the other night.
Shot from the low right block. Arcangeli comes right down floor and evens the score. Knotted at 2. 30 seconds gone by here in the first. Perez over his head, standing at the top of the key. He'll drop things off for Tyson. The flash from Delikiai to the foul line. Jumper doesn't go. Tapped by Dada right into the hands of Arcangeli. And here we go in transition. This is Kirkland. Gets held on the drive. 2 shots coming up for Kirkland.
And that one, I believe, will go against Perez. It'll be his first, team first for the Blue Devils.
Similar starting five to what we saw from the Spartans last week as well, as they start their captain, Colton Beausoleil, Brandon Hulecki, Ryan Hulecki, Matt Arcangeli, and Jalen Kirkland. Their starting five this evening.
Kirkland gets the first.
Second goes as well for Kirkland. 4-2 Spartan lead. And Delikiai will control the ball. Crossover coming across the timeline, right to left. Leominster wearing the road, royal blue tops, royal blue bottoms, trimmed in white at the shoulders, the waistband, bottom cuffs of the shorts. A running devil across the varsity L on either side of those shorts. Delikiai almost gave it away at the top of the arc, and then a whistle behind the play. That's a walk, and the ball will go back to the Spartans.
You mentioned Delikiai. He had a phenomenal night against Fitchburg 2 nights ago now. He was shooting out of his shoes. That was
Kirkland. Gets it out in front of Hulecki. Kick for Beausoleil. Sets up a 3 and hits. And here come the Spartans. The lead is 5. 6:40 to play here in the first quarter.
Once again, the Spartans taking advantage of every opportunity on offense. Leominster needs to match that in order to be successful here.
Cius with the drive, got kind of bumped off the play by Dada in transition. Down the middle of the floor comes Hulecki. Shot missed, tapped long, the race for the ball, picked up in stride by Cius, and he'll race it coast to coast and bring Leominster back within 3.
And that's one of Warren Cius's trademarks. He's fantastic on that fast break in transition, and he's able to retain control.
And right down the floor comes Ryan Hulecki, open on the left wing, lay in good. Spartans reestablish a 5-point lead.
I don't think the Spartans have missed in the offensive end.
The ball is tipped as Brandon Hulecki challenges. Ball was last touched by the Spartans, and it will stay with Leominster. Foul line extended. Dada does the inbounding duties. He'll drop it off for Delikiai. Now Cius. Look for the alley-oop baseline. Dada falling over. Sets up Perez. Front rim on the 3 doesn't go. Race down the rebound. It's Delikiai beyond the arc with it. Tyson, a little enthusiastic. He thought about a 3.
Yeah, he had made a few attempts at that against Fitchburg unsuccessfully. I'm glad to see him potentially think twice. He had a look.
Missed the lay-in. Rebound for Kirkland. Races it out in front. And Hulecki was running out of real estate. Bangs it off of a shin. They call it a kick. Fresh shot clock for the Spartans.
I like to see Tyson do the vast majority of his work inside the paint when you're leaving him out to take a 3. If I'm Oakmont, I'm allowing that to happen all day, every day.
As Leominster's bench tries to fire up a defense chant out there on the floor. Kirkland with the left-hand dribble. The drive, he pushes Perez back down low and hits the jumper from the lane.
He's been on fire. 4 points for Kirkland already in the early going. It's a team high 4 thus far.
And the lead is 7. This is Asias for Tyson. He takes the 3. Front rim, no. Delikiai the tap. Keeps it alive. Leominster, second opportunity on the possession. This is Dada. Corner for Delikiai. Tyson fronting one of the Uleckis down the lane as Dada flashes down the lane. And a nice find by Delikiai. Finish the lay-in. Close it to a 5-point game once again.
And the thing that sets that up is the beautiful passing. Of course, the great finish by Dada there, but a nice team effort to be able to slice the defense.
Uleckis with the handoff, and then Ryan Ulecki finds Kirkland, who sets up a 3 and buries it.
Right now, Kirkland is the man that you need to stop if you're Leominster's defense. You've already given up 7 points to him, and we're only halfway through the first quarter.
And this is Asias working with Dada. Dada the drive, spin through the foul line. Sees Perez in the corner, baseline drive, right back to Tyson. He has to dribble it out of trouble. Now Perez from the left elbow, pops the jumper, gets fouled. Perez has 2 shots coming from the line.
I believe that was against Kirkland. I'm going to say it's his first. We definitely know it's team first.
Precisely halfway through this first quarter of action, a 14-6 Spartan lead.
It's the first time to the line for the Leominster Blue Devils on this night.
And Perez can't manage to hit the first.
Need to take advantage of those freebies when you have it. Oakmont right now 2 of 2 from the line.
Players taking their spots in the lane. We see Quentin Pridgeon, who certainly made his physicality known in the first meeting between these two teams 1 week ago. He comes in as the 6th man off the bench. And Perez, 0 of 2 on the trip. Tap for the ball. Spartans come down with it. Arcangeli, well, outlet for Ulecki. Ulecki, left-hand dribble, crossing the foul line. And a walk called, and the ball will go back to Leominster.
That's the first unforced error that Oakmont has made. Every other trip that they have made when they're on offense, they have scored some type of point. That's the first time that there has either been a turnover or a defensive rebound. Oakmont has been stellar on offense thus far.
Tyson sees Delikiai coming his way with Pridgeon in tow. Now for Moisen. Moisen to Tyson. To the foul line, spins down the lane. He got bumped, pushed off the play. He was starting to lose his balance, Kate, and was able to kind of adjust his body to fling up a shot, draw the contact, and 2 shots coming his way.
That's where I like to see Isaac Tyson doing the majority of his work. He thought he had a look from the outside perimeter, thought better of it, and started to use his body to body up on the defender. He's able to get into the lane and draw the foul.
Tyson hits the first.
And he hits that.
Halves the Spartan lead. Players take their spots in the lane. Quinn Sugar and Pridgeon down low. They'll jump against Moisen and Delikiai for the Blue Devils as Tyson will crash from the foul line. And Tyson goes 2 of 2 on the trip. Here comes Kirkland. Kirkland will drop it off for Ulecki. Directing traffic from well off the arc. Swing now to Kirkland. Kirkland with the head fake. Takes the 3, short on the front rim. Beausoleil for the cleanup. Shot doesn't go. Beausoleil, another opportunity. That one will go. The lead is 8.
Leominster being out-rebounded right now, 5-2.
Dada loses the handle. Right into the hands of Pridgeon. Jumps right back on it. Battle for the ball. Dada takes it away. He's caught on the seat of his pants. Coach Ortiz and staff want to walk. They didn't get it. Leominster possession continues. 2.5 to play here in the first quarter. The closely guarded count on Delikiai. Reverses the ball for Tyson.
Just remember, we're not in control of the scoreboard tonight, so we can't let anybody know that the score is incorrect.
There's the drive down the lane, the scoop shot, and a walk called. Then the ball will go back to the Spartans. That pivot foot is being very closely called by one of the officials on the floor this evening. It's about the third time he's whistled it on 3 trips up and down the floor. This is Pridgeon. Back and forth with Ulecki. Pridgeon with the jab step. Kind of rolls the ball back to Ulecki, and Delikiai had enough. He takes it away. Delikiai out in front of the pack. Tipped from behind by Ulecki. Out of bounds. Last touch by the Spartans. Leominster will keep from foul line extended. And Coach Ortiz says that shot was deflected, as the official agrees, but again, the ball went out of bounds. Leominster's got to pick an inbound spot here. They got to find one. Socially distant inbounding from foul line extended on the offensive end. No balls put into play from underneath the hoop.
That official is staying so far away.
He's not coming anywhere near
anybody.
Moisen, 3 from the right corner, doesn't go. Ball rebounded by Haas into the game. And a held ball called. Alternate possession. It belongs to Oakmont.
Cadence here has slowed quite a bit.
Indeed it has. This is Beausoleil. Top of the key, Ulecki. Ulecki with the left-hand dribble, splits the lane, lay in good.
Was that Ryan?
It was. Brandon, a sophomore guard. Here's the drive. Dada rejected by Sugar.
A 6th turnover so far for Leominster here in the early going.
Ulecki for Pridgeon, tipped away, out of bounds. Blue Devils say they have it, and then all of a sudden the official working the baseline, who wasn't even looking, points Oakmont basketball. And we've got a disagreement in the stripes. And they will ultimately choose to give the ball to the Spartans. Corner, jumper, Arcangeli, that one won't go. Ball bounces long for Beausoleil. Now for Pridgeon, back to Beausoleil, an open 3, and buries it. 21-8, 50 seconds to play here in the first quarter. And there's a hold called. Official standing right in the middle of the Spartan when he makes the call. Unusual.
Should be team 3rd for Oakmont.
Perez over his head, final 48 seconds, about an 18-second differential on the inbound. Perez with the left-hand drive, has to kick back out. This in the hands of Delikiai. Delikiai swings, stutter from Moisen, down the baseline, he's slipping, and he walked with it. The ball will go back to Oakmont. Leominster Kate is trying to move a little too fast for their skill level at the moment.
And I think that that's probably true. I think that they see the score differential, and this is one of those instances where you're trying so hard to do your job well that you kind of you're out over your skis just a little bit in this instance. So I think they need to just calm down, make sure that they're doing their job, control what they can control, and take advantage of the opportunities that they're being given. 7 turnovers right now, and they're being out-rebounded 3-1 by Oakmont. You take those small items, you try to make those things work, and don't, go completely over your skis. A lot of basketball left, though.
10 to shoot, 14 left in the quarter. Jumper for Beausoleil doesn't go. Tyson the rebound, shot clock off. Leominster get an opportunity for a final shot. Moisen falling over, careening down the floor. Sets up a Halstead 3, and Halstead buries the 3 at the buzzer to end the first quarter. Michael Halstead enters the basketball game, and he's on the score sheet. Not a more important 3 may have been hit this year to balance things out a little bit going into the end of the first frame. My, oh my, Kate, that first quarter, not a lot of great positives for Leominster to take away, but a little spark going into the first quarter mask break.
And I don't necessarily think that they're playing a good game of basketball right now, not taking advantage of every opportunity that they're being given. And if you take a look at the first several offensive possessions that Oakmont had, they were primarily perfect. If you took a look at the score sheet, there wasn't any rebounding that needed to happen because Oakmont kept scoring every single time they went down the floor. So right now, I mean, they have scoring contributions from 6 different people already just in the first quarter alone. Right now, you have Kirkland, who was just lights out with a team-high 7 points in the first quarter, and that accounts for the 10-point deficit that Leominster finds itself in. But they were able to recover. They got points on the board. I think that last 3 by Halstead was crucial to try to narrow that gap. A 10-point lead is not out of the ordinary, or it's not extraordinary. What has to happen now is Leominster cannot allow that lead to increase. They need to win every single quarter from here on out, and they need to mitigate, and they need to diminish that lead systematically as they go through the quarters. Hopefully, Oakmont is able to stumble a little bit to benefit Leominster. Otherwise, if Oakmont continues to play the stellar brand of basketball that they have been, Leominster's going to have their work cut out for them.
Second 8 minutes queued up on the board. Spartans with a 21-11 lead. Tyson finds Delikiai through the foul line. Hits Halstead. Back to Moisen. Open 3. Short on the front rim. Rebound down for Ryan Ulecki.
And on that last possession, you saw Tyson, the senior, directing traffic for Halstead for a younger player in this instance. That's what that senior leadership that you need on the court is all about.
Bounce on the inside. Great find from Ryan Ulecki. Finds Arkangeli, who finishes at the rim. And this is Delikiai. The runner with the little push shot and gets it to go. And the lead is 10.
And that's one of the players Leominster needs a monster night out of. He had a phenomenal performance against Fitchburg 2 nights ago. They need points coming from every single person out on that floor.
Jumper from the foul line goes for Brandon Ulecki. 25-13. Just a minute into this second quarter. 3 from Dada, well short of the mark, tapped out of a pack, deflected, and they say it will stay right here.
And that missed 3 is the 3rd on the evening for the Leominster Blue Devils. Moisen, Tyson, and Dada have all made attempts from 3 and not hit. Halstead has had the lone 3 thus far from beyond the arc for Leominster. On the flip side of things, 3 different members of the Spartan squad have hit 3s. That's Beausoleil, Pridgeon, and Kirkland. They also have 3 missed attempts as well.
Nevard spin through the lane. Check it, excuse me. That was Tyson. Shot missed. Arkangeli the rebound. And a foul away from the basketball. A little hand check called. I believe it was Moisen who got billed for it, Kate.
That'll be his first, team second for the Blue Devils.
Kirkland with the basketball. Whistle immediately goes off. Okay. And another hand check gets called. This one against Moisen again. Quickly, he has 2 fouls, and Brian Perez back into the game, and Moisen has to go to the bench.
And that should be Leominster's team 3rd.
I will note one half of this officiating crew was assigned the Fitchburg and Leominster doubleheader the other night, did a phenomenal job. A walk call, this one goes back to Leominster. The other official, never seen before in my time calling ball here in Central Mass, but what I can tell you is a very different approach here. Let them play would have been how I would have described the officiating in the game against Fitchburg, between Fitchburg and Leominster's boys the other night. Tonight, a much more chokehold tight whistle, not allowing players to move, nor allowing this game to really develop any kind of flow. There's a missed shot going down the floor. This is Ulecki. Turn around in the lane. The left-hand shot won't go. Tap on the rebound. Pridgeon up with it and lays it in good out of a group of 3 Blue Devils. 14-point lead for the Spartans. Dada the drive. Deflected away for Tyson and back to the top of the key.
But no whistle there.
Yeah, return back to my original thoughts at the beginning of the pregame. How much race do you have in your horse? As the whistle goes off, the ball will stay with Leominster. 5:31 to play here in the second quarter, 27-13, Oakmont's lead. Tyson will check back out. Terrence McCormick in. And now Asias back in. He'll spell Halstead. And Leominster goes basically with a 5-guard lineup out on the floor. And that pass telegraphed. Pridgeon with the pick. Coast to coast, just shy of the lay-in. Or maybe the full-on slam.
Pridgeon was quite the difference maker in the last game against these two teams as well. Quiet but explosive when he needs to be.
Indeed, and he has the ups to make that slam. That time just a little shy on the jump. McCormick, the drive-in kick. Perez, 3 from the right side. Back rim, no. Rebound down for Dada. 3 minutes gone by here in the second quarter. Another opportunity on the possession for Leominster. Perez, the drive, nowhere to go. Back top of the key, Dada. Dada to the foul line. Swing for McCormick. A smothering defense. Dada drives, kick back. Delikiai, no good. Jump for the basketball, loose, and it's run down there by Ulecki.
And those are numbers 4 and 5 from beyond the three-point arc for misses for Leominster. Right now they are 1 of 6.
No particular hurry here for the Spartans as we reach the halfway point of the second quarter. Pridgeon spins off of McCormick. Called for the walk. The ball will go back to Leominster. And Coach Kevin Grudgefield is going to spend a timeout. 4:15 to play in quarter two, 29-13, a 16-point differential. And Coach Grudgefield and staff, they're taking that assessment right now. Where does their horse stand as you reach the top of the backstretch? That's the question.
You've been enjoying that analogy tonight.
Why not? Stay with it.
Oh, man.
Take a look at how these two teams got here. Of course, we mentioned in the coverage last night of the girls' pod final, the 4 teams that qualified in both the boys and girls bracket here in pod 6 were exactly the same 4 schools. So that meant Narragansett and Gardner were both eliminated after the regular season, after that first 5 weeks. And so in whatever order you mix them, as you see the top half of the bracket there, Quabbin and Leominster, the matchup last night, ultimately won by Quabbin to win the pod final on the girls' side. And then you see Oakmont and Quabbin reversed their positions on the boys' side. Oakmont ultimately the clear front runner. The 1-3 matchup here tonight with Leominster, and right now showing why they're the 1 seed and why they are undefeated to this point in this basketball season with the 29-13 lead over Leominster.
And right now, Leominster's defense not really able to hold Oakmont's offense down below its season point per game average. They're on pace to be well into the 60s, the 60-point range, which is very much unlike what Leominster's hallmark defense has been able to hold teams to. Oakmont's been very efficient on offense.
And it sounds like there's some technical difficulties inside the new gym at Oakmont Regional, as there was, you heard, a multitude of horns, and then I just heard somebody say the shot clock. And so they're coming out from the sideline. Shot clock is showing 30 seconds. And it appears that the shot clock has frozen.
Oh, so that's fun. They'll have to shut those off, right?
They potentially are going to have to shut the system off and reboot it. Trying to see if we can listen in and hear a little bit more of the conversation. Well, that sound says it all. When you hear that buzzing sound, that ringing, buzzing sound from the input device, never a good sign in a scoreboard system.
And this spell might be longer than what the halftime is going to be.
The board has reset, and we can tell, looking at the graphic, that we're being fed from AWCATV. It has completely reset, which means they had to completely reset the scoreboard system in the building. So they will reset those graphics. We're expecting a bit of a delay here as
This will
they
be longer than the halftime break.
try to get. I was going to say at this point in time, Kate, as we welcome folks back inside the home studio as well, and we get a great look from the folks at AWCATV on the split screen. Clock issues inside. Father Time, not kind.
Oh, only one of them. That one's
so
on.
the shot clock on one side of the floor has gone out.
Oh.
So they're going to reset the shot clock, and typically the practice here would be, by rule, that the public address announcer would count off the final 10 seconds on the end of the floor where they are blind, or you shut off both shot clocks. That tends to be the two ways of going about managing that
fun.
process. We'll see what we get inside the building. It's the end Leominster shoots at for the remainder of this half.
Clarity on the camera will come back.
Yes, indeed it
Give
will.
some time.
This is Dada. No need to adjust your rabbit ears. We'll adjust them coming into us.
You can hear them counting.
Indeed. As they count the shot clock off, the push shot for Delikiai won't go, and the shot clock has come back on conveniently after that possession. So they're able to get the wires put back together, and at least it appears to be working. Again, inside the building, we'll see as Leominster makes this trip down the floor. This is Perez. Perez races to the left corner, takes the three. No. McCormick the rebound. Shot up, that won't go. And the rebound down for Ryan Ulecki.
6 missed threes right now for the Blue Devils. They are 1 of 7 from behind the three-point range.
3:10 to play here in the second quarter. This is Kirkland. Off a screen from Sugar. There was a whistle.
I thought
And a
there should have
contact.
been a travel as well.
I was going to say, Coach Kevin Grudgefield was the person you could clearly hear say travel as a way to kindly disagree with the foul call. And I think the point was not necessarily to disagree with the foul call. The point was to disagree that there was a walk before the foul call. As Acius makes the tip, races to the half-court left. Now with Perez, drop it off for Delikiai. A little reverse lay-in, that will go. Right hand from the left side. And Leominster back on the board after a long absence. Foul line drive, spin, jumper with the left hand, doesn't go for Ulecki. Tip on the rebound, it's Kirkland who comes out with it. 2.5 to play here in the second quarter. Here's Kirkland to the left block, jumper won't go. Tapped by Sugar. Finally tapped loose, and McCormick comes out with it. There was a grab by Kirkland, clear as day, coming across half court with no call. And Acius will drive the lane, draw the foul, and Acius has 2 shots coming from the line. Love the second screen participation going on out there. Feel free to cheer on your favorite Spartan or Blue Devil as we continue through our coverage this evening. Also enjoy the pithy banter that tends to develop on the broadcast as well in the second screen experience.
Everybody stays nice to each other. I'm
Absolutely.
fine. I don't want to have to be a referee.
Acius missed the first. Second will go. 29-16 Spartan lead, 2:10 to play here in the second quarter. This is Ulecki. Bounce it back for Pridgeon. 15 to shoot on the possession. Pridgeon, crossover, jumper from the foul line. No go, rebound Delikiai.
Leominster right now being out-rebounded 13-8.
And this is Acius. Around the horn, it finds its way to Delikiai. Three-pointer is short of the mark, and the ball will go back to Oakmont. 98 seconds until the halftime mask break.
Which will be shorter than the
Yeah, correction of the clock, yes. Down floor, this is Ulecki with the dish for Arcangeli. Deflected away by Perez. For Dada, down floor for Delikiai. Delikiai takes it all the way, lays it in and good. Leominster strings together back-to-back possessions. Long 2 for Brandon Ulecki, and will find the bottom of the net.
And one of the things that I've noticed, Oakmont with the mid-range jump shots, so much more dangerous than most of the teams that we've seen in this pod.
Dada's drive was bothered, shot missed. Pridgeon back down the floor, and Pridgeon bodies Delikiai off, makes the lay-in good. Under a minute to play here until halftime. This is Asias with the left-hand drive. Whistle goes off. Held ball is the call.
Mr. coaching staff taking exception to that. You can hear them from here.
Indeed you can.
None too happy about that. Coach Grutchfield will be chewing on these officials for a while, I think.
I can understand the frustration.
Feel like a dog with a bone.
This is Pridgeon. Final 35 seconds of the second quarter. Work the alley-oop. Pridgeon up with it. He can't finish at the rim. This is Perez. Whistle and a foul call. 2 shots coming up here for Perez was the signal.
This should be team 5th. Today's Nico Delikiai's birthday, from what I'm to gather on the stream.
Well, happy birthday, Nico.
Happy birthday, Nico. Having a great night thus far. 6 points for the Blue Devils.
Perez drops the first.
First time Perez has made it to the score sheet tonight for the Blue Devils.
Now, the shot clock is off on this end of the floor again, but it's supposed to be. 26 seconds left here in the second quarter.
You do know how to tease supposed drama.
And the second one will rattle down as well. 13-point basketball game. Leominster would like to draw it a little tighter, maybe with one more possession until halftime. The shot clock off, they're going to need a turnover. Asias tries to jump the lane on Ulecki. Ulecki's drive, stripped, loose ball, whistle went off, and like a matador, the signal is the ball goes down floor for Leominster. All we needed was the red cape. Here comes Dada. Right to left over half court. 5 seconds until the mask break. 2 seconds. Go one. The double clutch. It's good if it goes. It's short for Dada off the front rim. 33-20. Oakmont over Leominster through one half at the new gym at Oakmont Regional here in the Pod 6 final. And happy to have you a part of our family here on Rivalry Family Media alongside Kate Robbins, Todd Robbins for RFM on this Friday night. Great to have you with us. Curtain comes down on the winter season, second of 4 high school sports seasons in the 2020-2021 school year, starting on Monday. Fall 2 or the wedge season. Pick your favorite reference here. That would include football and volleyball, all to begin coming up on Monday. Tryouts will begin. There'll be a couple of weeks of conditioning and preparation, and then games begin on the volleyball side within the first week of March, Kate, I do believe, and then followed shortly thereafter, second week of March for volleyball?
The week that ends the 19th.
Oh, same week. Okay, so the third week of March will be the week to set up there. And then from there, of course, we'll have home games for volleyball right here on Rivalry Family Media. Looking forward to bringing you those 6 home games coming up, and then followed closely thereafter, or kind of right along with, the football season, where a schedule was released today. At least we'll call it the pairings and the weeks, the dates, whether they're Fridays, Saturdays, or who knows. Those are all still to be worked out as our start time. So all that information to come, as is the broadcast situation. Obviously, our partners at WPKZ, the K-Zone, will be with us for the season, as will hopefully our friends over at Leominster TV and those of us here at Rivalry Family Media. Looking forward to it as well. Bill Thomas will be back from his long-term assignment, so we're looking forward to that as well.
He's going to be glistening tan, and I'm going to be so jealous.
Retirement suits some people, as Kate, you look at your first half stats in a 33-20 Spartan lead.
Sounds good to me. All right, team totals first. First for the home Spartans, 14 rebounds, 1 steal, 10 turnovers. Individual notable statistics, Beausoleil with 5 points. Brandon Hewlecki with 6 points. Pridgeon with a team-high 9 points. Kirkland with a team-high 7. Arcangeli with 4 points on Leominster's side of the ball. 9 rebounds, 3 steals, 7 turnovers. Right now, individual scoring contributions from Halstead with 3 points. Perez with 2 points, both coming from the line. Asias with 3 points. Tyson with 4 points. Dada with 2 points. And the birthday boy, Nico Delici, with a team-high 6 points right now.
And that's where we stand.
The difficulty for me comes in the fact that right now that 10-point lead at the end of the first quarter extended to 13 points in the second quarter. I'm going in the wrong direction if you're the Blue Devils. But baskets starting to hit, more people getting onto the scoring sheet, so whole another half of basketball left for everybody.
And the third quarter was the point where the Spartans pulled away in their last meeting last Saturday.
About midway through.
We'll see how things develop as we start the third frame. Leominster will go from left to right. This is Halstead.
Stifling defense.
And Halstead had the big three-pointer at the end of the first quarter that served as a spark for Leominster. This is Perez for Asias through the foul line. Left hand cross to right, up on the rim, and gets some help from the metal. Down it goes. An 11-point basketball game. 30 seconds into the third quarter.
Asias up to 5 points for the Blue Devils. And he is crafty. It's the shoes.
Indeed it was. Drive down the lane. First shot missed. Pridgeon the rebound on the follow-off Kirkland's miss. Pridgeon's got himself 2 points.
Pridgeon is very tricky to deal with when you're on defense.
Perez spots up the three. Front rim, roll off, rebound Kirkland. Outlet down floor for Pridgeon. Spins and walked with it. The ball back to Leominster.
Leominster now with 9 missed three-point attempts in the game.
Coach Ortiz not enthused with that decision as he lets the officials know. That pivot foot has been very closely managed through the first half of this basketball game. Which I mean, as players, Kate, you can adapt to. You know, if you're going to make a move, the pivot foot had better stay still, or you better dribble or get rid of the basketball. Ball was lost on that one by Perez into the hands of Kirkland. Kirkland for Pridgeon, the Euro step, and a foul called. 2 shots coming up here for Quentin Pridgeon.
And that'll be Leominster's first of the second half. Pridgeon had a very quiet first quarter. He had 1 shot. It was from 3. He had a quick 6 points. He's up to 11 now. And sending him to the line.
Pridgeon at the line, wearing the home white tops, white bottoms for the Spartan, all trimmed in dark evergreen. The Spartan on either side of the shorts with the striping. Spartans right across the chest with that Oakmont signature font, front and back on the uniforms. Leominster wearing the road royal blue tops, royal blue bottoms, trimmed in white at the shoulders, the waistbands, and the bottom cuffs of the shorts. The running devil on the varsity L on either side, and a scripted Leominster in an arc across the front of the chest, numerals front and back. Pridgeon second rattles out. An antithetical rebound there for Perez. And back down floor come the Blue Devils. This is a drive through the lane. The double clutch for Asias doesn't go. Somehow he makes it back in from the baseline, and he makes the rebound. It's a stellar individual effort. Also asked the question, where was the rest of the team? Deliciai's jumper won't go in and out. And the Spartans own the low blocks again. This time Kirkland the rebound. Pridgeon. Pretty ball handling. Pops the 3, doesn't go. Dada the long rebound. Down floor for Perez. Missed the lay-in. Not able to complete the bunny. Hewlecki for Pridgeon. Stolen by Asias. And back the other way. And there was a reach-in by Beausoleil. And then a held ball called.
Okay.
And the ball will go to Oakmont.
Interesting.
5:46 to play here in the third, 36-22, the lead for Oakmont. 6+ weeks into this COVID-modified basketball
Here
season,
comes
Kate,
the soap
and
opera.
I still can't seem to figure out in any way, shape, or form the timing on the calls. The finger whistle goes off, and then there's this odd delay where then magically a report comes out as Kirkland misses the initial shot and then lands the second. Usually with the whistles, of course, that are traditionally where the whistle gets blown, the signal comes, whether it's a foul call, you see the fist going up kind of with the whistle, as that one was tipped from behind by Kirkland away from Asias. Ulecki pulls the ball loose, down floor he comes, hangs onto it all the way to the rim, does not go, and the rebound pulled down by Perez. I'll check that was Viola, first into the basketball game, seeing some of his first minutes. Kirkland tried to strip that pass. Viola gets it back. Bounce down the lane for Dada. He tries to pass his way out of it. It got deflected. Leominster
Far too
barely
chaotic.
hangs on to the possession. Here's the drive, and the jump will go for Delikiai. And Coach Kevin Grudgefield, Kate, calls the timeout with 4:42 to play in the third quarter, and I wouldn't be surprised if he delivers a similar message to your point, as Leominster is just too discombobulated out on the floor to get back into this basketball game in any meaningful way.
Yeah, that particular offensive possession in and of itself was they came out of it with points. They were able to kind of, that boat was tipping and turning and ready to capsize, and they were able to stabilize it just enough to come out with points. But you can see Coach Kevin Grutchfield on the sideline. He's being fairly emphatic. The last few possessions back and forth, have been a little bit of a cluster. So it's going to be a very interesting situation to see here if Leominster can right the ship. It's so difficult when you're a student athlete and you want so terribly. You see a loose ball, you see an errant pass, you see an opportunity to be able to jump into a lane. You want to take those opportunities, but because it's so very specifically a team sport, when one thing gets off kilter, there tends to be that opposite and equal reaction, and you get kind of this seesaw action going back and forth. And sometimes when that kinetic reaction among teammates is happening, you lose all semblance of plays. You lose all semblance of defensive positioning. You lose all semblance of effectiveness or being able to at least, demonstrate the fundamentals that are going on out there. And it's so difficult because Coach Kevin Grutchfield knows this isn't a situation where it's for lack of effort. They're not out there being lackadaisical. They're putting out so much effort and putting forth so much heart that things are off the rails. And it's his job as the coach to kind of right the ship, refocus, get back together. This is what the game plan is. Go out there and make sure that you do what you're told.
And let's see how it comes out of the timeout. Down the floor, that was Ryan Ulecki. No good on the lay-in. The rebound, Arcangeli kept it alive for Brandon Ulecki, who tries to force a pass inside. It got tipped. Leominster comes out with the basketball. Back down floor. This is Perez. 3 opportunity. Doesn't go. Rebound down. Viola picks the pocket and then has his pocket picked right back. This is Ulecki. Drive the lane. Doesn't go. Ends up being a great pass to Arcangeli. That doesn't go. Ball down. Now a whistle trailing the play. And the push is going to be called on Kirkland. Coach Ortiz is going to step in, grab the basketball, and, get his 25 cents worth while the official's standing right there.
I don't think it was worth that much. I think he made it quick. It was probably his 2 cents, not 25. That's pushing it. You got to chew for a little while to get a quarter's worth.
I was thinking, given the inflation, I was thinking that's at least 25 cents as Asias drives the lane and gets a little scoop and score off the glass.
CS right now, team high 4 points for the Blue Devils in the third quarter.
This is Kirkland. Drives, high lay-in, off square and good.
And Kirkland quiet during the second quarter for the Spartans. He had 7 points in the first quarter. He has a quick 4 here in the third.
Drive, kick, Moisen, jumper from the right wing, doesn't go. Rebound down for Ulecki. And there's a whistle, and count the basket.
Ulecki again.
Ulecki for 2 points. The whistle went off seemingly before the shot was released. Doesn't mean that they weren't in the act of shooting, and the process was Ulecki, but again, the timing just seems to be off a little bit. And the players are just finding out that the basket was scored, so they have to line the lane if they so choose. Spartans choosing not to contest the rebound. They're just going to set up on defense. And that one will go. It's 3 the old-fashioned way for the sophomore Brandon Ulecki. 43-26, Oakmont on top of Leominster. Final 3 minutes of the third quarter. This is Viola. Crosses over Pridgeon in a double team. Deflected. Viola got knocked out of bounds. Raced back in for the basketball. Not able to get to it.
And this becomes difficult. He goes up against the double team there on the baseline, and they well out height him. He's not going to be able to toss that over.
A left-hand jumper for Brandon Ulecki, becoming a one-man wrecking crew. He'll drop the 2 from the foul line. And a whistle. It's a foul call. It's billed to Pridgeon. 2 shots for Asias for the grab.
A lot of conversation during these free throws, and I can't
I'm trying to figure out
fathom why.
what the situation
The last
is.
one when Pridgeon was at the line was because his shirt was untucked, but I don't understand why the need for so much conversation.
Asias gets that one to go as well.
And again here. And why are we... I'm going to keep my mouth shut.
Your point in a COVID-modified world is not lost on anyone on this broadcast.
Let's get in people's faces.
2:27 to play here in the third. Asias goes 2 of 2 on the trip. This is Kirkland. Kirkland will drive, split the defense, double clutch, got it on the backboard, didn't go, tap back out long, finds its way to Ulecki. Ulecki slashes the lane, that one won't go. Loose ball to the floor, Viola comes out with it. Viola will take it end to end and lay it in and good. Brings Leominster back within 15, 2 minutes to play here in the third quarter. Jumper for Ulecki. Won't go. Hard in and out and off to the left. Delikiai the rebound through Moisen for Viola. Viola feeds Delikiai now with Asias. Final 95 seconds of the third. And there's a whistle and a held ball called, and the alternate possession is Leominster's.
Third time in a row that Asias has worked to start driving the lane. First 2 times were fouls. That time a held ball.
Swing comes to the near side. That was Perez for Viola. Corner, Moisen, 3, no go. Pridgeon, the uncontested rebound. Beausoleil spots up for 3, high rebound. Second bounce doesn't fall, and then the third comes loose. Moisen with it.
11 missed threes for Leominster so far in this game. They are 1 of 12.
And that one will fall in the lane for Perez. You mean Oakmont?
No, for Leominster.
Okay. That 3 was from Oakmont. That was the only reason.
No, that one was, but I was counting for Leominster.
I just wanted to make sure I understood the stat right.
Now, did Perez get points, you said?
Yes, he did. Kirkland for 3 from straight away, and down goes another one.
No, they've been hitting. Oakmont tonight has 5 missed threes, and they've got...
Beausoleil gives up the body, hits Kirkland on the streak, and Kirkland slams it home with the exclamation point. Viola right back, make it Perez back down floor with the push shot, and it goes.
Right now, 50-34 in favor of Oakmont. We had a question on what the score was.
Final 5 seconds here of the third.
The score that's on the screen is from the official table, so it is official.
And Pridgeon wants a foul call, up 24. Or 26, excuse me. Not going to get it. As we head to the mask break at the end of the third quarter. It's a dominating Spartan performance, yet another one in this COVID-modified basketball season for Coach Dan Ortiz's bunch. Kate Leominster is going to come up with a couple of things, and they've got to change a couple of trends that we have not seen go well for them over these first three quarters. And the first one absolutely has got to be rebounds. Rebounds, particularly on the offensive end. I mean, physically, they are giving up substantial amounts of size. I mean, obviously, the screen does not do near justice to what we saw last week when this game was at the gym at Leominster High School. When you see Quentin Pridgeon in person, when you see Matt Arcangeli in person, Jalen Kirkland, they are physically imposing presences, and not just because of height. They are built strong.
Yes, you're absolutely right there. The other thing that we're taking note of here on the score sheet right now, Oakmont has, count them, 3 different players through 3 quarters already with double-digit point scoring. They also have scoring contributions in total from 6 different people out on the court. Like you said, they are out-rebounding Leominster right now, offensive rebounds in particular being of considerable note at the moment. And so that becomes a situation where Leominster being out-rebounded and then prolific scoring from Oakmont right now. The noticeable item is that generally Leominster are able to keep their opponents below 50 points per game. And right now, Oakmont already at that 50-point mark going into the fourth quarter of play. So a very interesting note relative to Leominster's defense, particularly in the rebounding.
Oakmont's well on their way to their average. They are 13 points off their average of 63 1/3 points per ball game. Final 8 minutes racked up on the board, and away we go with this fourth and final quarter of regulation. The drive down the lane. Arcangeli has that one tapped away. And this is Viola. Back and forth with Moisen. Now Viola. Drop it in the lane. Perez push it up on the rim. Doesn't go. Tap for the rebound, and that's Pridgeon down with it.
Pridgeon was very active in the third quarter.
Takes the three-pointer, short on the front rim. Beausoleil, the follow, didn't go. Pridgeon had another opportunity. That didn't go. Leominster in transition. Viola heaves it while falling away. That doesn't go. Second opportunity. Cleanup comes. Moisen on the inside. Beneficiary of what looked like an Asias pass in close quarters. 1 minute through this fourth quarter. Here's the drive, throws up the wild shot, and Brandon Ulecki gets another one to go. That one he just kind of fired a hook over his head and found the bottom of the net. Perez with a little room, spots up the three, bang, away it goes. And now Coach Danny Ortiz says that's close enough. 6:26 to play in the fourth quarter. Oakmont the 52-39 lead as Leominster comes out and strings together some consecutive buckets here in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, right now outscoring Oakmont 5-2 here in the early going. But the interesting thing on that last offensive possession by Oakmont, multiple offensive rebounds. They had 3 bites at that particular apple. So still Leominster trying to work on their rebounding situation, but they're not being out-rebounded in this quarter. Right now it's 3-3, and it's just that Oakmont right now, offensive boards that are favoring them. So very interesting item there. Again, you have multiple people for Oakmont with double digits on the score sheet. Ulecki now with 13, Pridgeon with 14, and Kirkland with 14 points respectively, going into this fourth quarter with that 16-point lead. And right now, Leominster looking to systematically try to diminish the point differential and see how close they can bring it back. Still a ball game. Not all is lost. It's still 6.5 minutes. But because Oakmont has been so prolific, Leominster is going to have to rely heavily, and I mean heavily, on their defense. Their defense defense is going to have to be exceptional here. And right now, because Oakmont has so many different weapons that they've been able to kind of easily go to, it's a tall task. Leominster's capable of it, but it is a lot to ask of their defense.
Let's revisit my horse metaphor, the horse race metaphor we've been talking about throughout this one. We've turned the final corner from home. We're at the top of the stretch, and Leominster right now has got a significant 20-plus horse deficit. They've got to close that gap. How will they be able to do it? That's the question. And the key is, of course, that one's thrown out of play, one horse at a time. You can only overcome one horse at a time down the stretch. You can't leap over all 20 horses in front of you. Well, it's one bucket at a time down the stretch here.
And it's not a full 20 points, and they're working their way back in. We do know that there have been questions relative to Dada's condition on the sideline. We know he's not been in the game for a little bit. We know that he was dealing with injury toward the end of the regular season. He has not been in for a little bit, but we have not seen or heard, obviously, anything regarding injury at this point.
And from what we can see, he's on the screen as there was a foul call and Asias goes to the line to shoot two. Dada is sitting next to Halstead. As you look at the Leominster bench, he's second player in from the right.
Asias hits there. He's got 11 points on the night.
And I don't see any obvious situation going on there. There's no obvious ongoing treatment. His shoes are still on. So let's hope the good news. If there's an injury, it's not apparent.
Correct.
Or acute, I think is the right word, Kate. Asias missed the second of the free throws. Pridgeon the rebound. He comes down floor, finds Kirkland, and the lane is picked. And stumbling, that's Viola who made the pick and then kept it alive going down floor only to give it away to Arcangeli.
Again, Leominster needs a stop every time Oakmont comes to this end of the court.
Kirkland fires the three, front rim, back rim, glass, and down for three. 15-point basketball game. Moisen, cross-court, Delikiai. Lost handle, finds Viola. Viola to the foul line, jumper for two, short off the front rim, and the rebound down for Arcangeli.
And Leominster's been forced to take some of those mid-range jumpers throughout most of the evening. Still finding it a little bit difficult to penetrate that lane. Certainly finding the offensive boards difficult.
We'll drop it off for Ulecki working on Asias. There's the screen for Arcangeli. Rolled wide open off that screen. And Arcangeli will lay it in and good. Screen and roll as Perez tries to duplicate. Instead, it's Asias. Kicks it in the corner for Perez. Perez the drive, spun back off the play, tried to underhand a bullet. It got deflected off a Spartan. Leominster will keep the basketball, 12 to shoot on the possession. This is Asias. Cross for Moisen. Moisen fires one to Delikiai, coming across the foul line. Let the defender blow by. Nice timing. Delikiai lays it in and good. We're halfway through the fourth quarter. 57-42. Leominster trying to systematically work its way back into the basketball game.
And there, Delikiai with a team tying high of 10 points on the night, tied with Asias right now.
This is Kirkland. Crosses over on Perez. First shot won't go. Neither will the second. Arcangeli rips down the rebound this time. Whistle from behind the play. And now they say out of bounds, and the ball will go back to Leominster.
Leominster still struggling with those rebounds. Seemingly every time Oakmont misses a shot, they're getting at least a second opportunity, if not a third opportunity every single time. A timeout here, Coach Ortiz coming out to get his money's worth with the official. I don't think that he liked that particular out-of-bounds call and wanted a foul called against Leominster, so he's getting his money's worth there with the near side official.
Beautiful look inside the new gym at Oakmont Regional High School. We thank the great folks there, Athletic Director Eric Dolly and his great team, as well as the folks at AWCATV, that's Ashburnham Westminster Community Access Television. We thank them for their partnership in working together to get this pool footage available for you to be able to offer this broadcast here on Rivalry Family Media this evening. Thank you also very much for what has been a fantastic basketball season. Looking forward to, again, this is only, we'll say, the first half of the high school's athletic season in the 2020-2021 season. Still 2 more seasons to come. This is the one time historically where it is possible in the last, I don't know, decades. 2, 3, 4 decades where a player could actually compete in 4 different sports.
Well, and we'd heard about that, and correct me if I'm wrong, was it Robichaud?
Yeah, Dick Robichaud.
Dick Robichaud, who in the 1950s or 1960s was able to be a 4-sport varsity letterman for Leominster, and we thought, oh, that could never happen again. The very next year after he goes into the Hall of Fame for that particular excellence in sports, all of a sudden now we have another opportunity where technically you could have a 4-sport varsity athlete. And we do know, especially on the boys' golf side of things, there was at least 1 or 2 non-golf athletes that, because their traditional fall season was not contested, went out for and made the varsity golf team this year for Leominster. So it's most decidedly a possibility, which is just kind of neat.
Well, it's a unique possibility. It still won't duplicate in my mind. It's going to be the old Roger Maris asterisk kind of moment. Well, I mean, anytime you can letter in 4 sports is incredible. But those folks that did it previously, that are getting their well-deserved due, they did it 4 sports in 3 seasons. Well, yes, which is incredible.
Which is certainly not sanctioned anymore.
No,
so we have a towel on the floor, so we had some slipping. So I'm glad we went on our little tangent there.
Absolutely. 3:24 to play here in the 4th. There was a foul called on the floor.
Yeah, wasn't it?
Delicia was in the act of shooting.
Dick Robichaud, now, I can't even fathom that this was even possible. That when he played for Bugsy for baseball, that Bugsy let him also go run track.
Yes, that is correct.
Seems inconceivable to me. There's no way. Having
That's
been on
Coach
bus
Emil
rides
Johnson,
with,
of course, who
Coach
she's
Emil
referring
Johnson, the fact that having been in his presence, granted, quite later on in his career, been on bus rides where I can't even fathom that being a possibility.
That he let a player run track when he should have been at baseball practice?
Nope.
First one will go for Delicia.
Can't even conceive it.
One of the fantastic Leominster legend stories that you get when you are out covering this program and all across the region. So many great stories are out there. It's one of the great parts about being able to provide this coverage today, as Delicia hits the second as well, is you get to learn about all these stories of the past as well and find the parallels where they fit in each school's tapestry of their history.
I've never been more scared on a bus ride than I was traveling with the boys baseball team with Coach Emil Johnson at the helm. I've never been. We would win games and be silent on the bus ride home just because if the boys lost, we were so scared.
Pridgeon gets tied up by Perez on the held ball call. The alternate possession favors Oakmont.
Leominster really needing to rely on their defense here.
Yes, they do. And you could hear Coach Grudgefield in the background saying, deny, 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 deny. And there was a whistle. Yeah, Coach Dan Ortiz spends the timeout as the ball got trapped right along the timeline and was dangerously close to an over and back. And so they'll spend the timeout with 4 seconds to shoot. So Coach Ortiz will have a side inbound from foul line extended to draw up a play for a shot.
And even with the sizable lead here, it's so important to be able to retain that offensive possession, even with just 4 seconds left. Number one, obviously, you want the opportunity to get the point, but it takes additional time off the clock. And time, if you're Oakmont right now, is your friend.
Yes.
And the more of it that you can take off, the better off you are. I think you're going to see the next several offensive possessions from Oakmont be long, sustained attempts at the four-corner stall, because time is their friend. And right now, Leominster needing to score in quick succession if they want to be able to get back into this ball game. Leominster's going to rely heavily on their defense, and they're going to need to make a lot of magical things happen on defense and convert on offense in order to get back in this one.
Placement of this inbound across floor from where the ball was when the timeout was called.
Because why not? And where the ball was.
To Ulecki. 2 seconds on the shot clock. A horn went off with 1 on the clock. Ball will go to the floor. Pridgeon comes out with it, lays it in and good.
Interesting.
This is Viola. Down the lane to the right. Double clutch, got deflected. And the ball taken away by the Spartans. 59-44 Oakmont, 2.5 minutes away from a perfect COVID-modified boys basketball season. Whistle behind the play, it's a foul.
That'll be against Leominster.
Indeed. Arcangeli's got 2 shots coming from the line. I think the way the whistle is kind of reflecting off of the walls and then coming back down the line in the microphone is throwing me off a little bit. That one clearly came from the lead, but it sounded like the whistle came from behind the play.
Well, you are several towns away.
As it turns out, 2 of 2 on the trip for Arcangeli, 2:25 to play in the fourth. 61-44. This is Viola. Takes a long time for that sound to go into the Campbell soup can, down the string, and then back out the other end here in the living room. The whistle. And it's a block call.
See, I thought that whistle came from the trailing official.
That's what I have thought all night long.
But there is quite the delay from when the whistle goes off and the actual call is made. So there is kind of that interesting delay.
Moisen is at the line. That one will not go. 2:08 to play here in the fourth quarter. And the second one will go for Moisen. Leominster's bench trying to spark up the energy with a defense chant. Meanwhile, there's the drive. Got it up on the rim. That one won't fall for Kirkland. The putback for Arcangeli didn't go. There was a crash and deflect on by Pridgeon. And the Spartans get another chance to run 30 more seconds off the board. Ulecki with an underhand to Ulecki. Then to Kirkland on the weave. And there's a blow to the head called. 2 shots called there. No, they scored the basket. 63-45. Continuation has been the name of the game. It's not a thing in high school athletics, but it's been the name of the game tonight. And that one will go. Love the second screen experience. Get the opportunity to hear, as Greg Ulecki says, that he feels like number 3, the sophomore Brandon Ulecki, might be the best point guard in Central Mass, although he freely admits he might be biased. But you know what? He's not wrong. And frankly, he's not wrong if he was to stretch that statement a little farther and say Oakmont is clearly the best basketball team in Pod 6. No question about it. In about 1:10, that will be fully anointed in case it wasn't widely known already. As Ulecki sends away the 3 and buries it. Final minute here of the fourth quarter. That's the exclamation point.
That might not have been Ulecki. I think that was Obashan with that 3.
Very well could have been, as it was on the opposite side of my monitor. That shot missed there. 3 away. That one won't go. Loose ball tapped along, finds its way to Arcangeli, and now it's all academic from here. Coach Dan Ortiz spends a timeout. 35 seconds to play here in the fourth quarter. 67-45. Spartans on their way to being the finals champ here of pod number 6 and capping off a perfect basketball season. Certainly well deserved.
An impressive season for Oakmont coming in. Impressive all the way through.
Now, certainly, if you were to look at this pod, being able to pick, an all-pod team, you would have to look at, some of the names across the board that stand out to me from our broadcast, having had the opportunity to see these teams on occasions here. I mean, you could go down the list and pick your favorite Spartan and add them to that conversation. You've got to include a Cius on the defensive end for the Blue Devils, Dada on the offensive end for Leominster, Brian Perez in there in that conversation as well. I think a Scavera from Quabbin, when I saw them a couple of weeks ago, a physically imposing and dominant presence on the inside.
Point guard for Fitchburg.
Yes, Gabe Rivera from Fitchburg. I think you've got to include in the conversation. You could add a few Red Raiders into that conversation as well, Monty Graham, and among others. I mean, there has been some fantastic basketball played in this Pod 6 over the last 6 weeks. It has certainly been a treat to chronicle. Delikiai's three does not go. Rebound for Viola. Viola takes the three. That one will go. 67-48. Final 8 ticks will come off the board on this one. This is Marchand. He'll take it into the front court and dribble this one out. Perfect. That is how the 2021 Oakmont Spartans, under the command of Dan Ortiz, will go into the record books. Long after they forget there was a pod and there was COVID and everything else, what they will remember is that in the 2021 basketball season, Oakmont started perfect and they ended perfect.
A tall task.
Indeed it is.
You're very welcome to the Moisten family. Thank you for the kind words. I'm ready for stats already.
I was going to say, Kate's been totaling feverishly over there on that one. As we'll welcome you back inside Rivalry Family Media home studio. Kate Robbins, Todd Robbins, happy to have you along with us and a part of our family over the last 6 weeks. It's been a pleasure to be here with you all. And as I said, as people move on to other sports over the next so many months, we're not done yet. You can look for volleyball coming here on Rivalry Family Media, football for certain across the many plethora of pieces that involve chronicling Blue Devil athletics. But Kate, Billy, and I will be there to bring you all 6 of those games in one place or another. And then you can also look forward to lacrosse in the coming months. I know Coach Colin Davis is out there going, boys lacrosse, it better be on your spring agenda. It certainly is, as is girls lacrosse over at historic Doyle Field. We're looking forward to get out there with that. Hopefully be able to bring you some bat ball sports as well, although it's always much more of a challenge. Easy for a radio call of a bat ball sport, more difficult to chronicle sports with cameras and getting the right angles to be able to bring those bat ball sports. But creativity has been the name of the game in the COVID-modified athletic season that is 2021 thus far.
So before we move forward, I know
Yes.
there were still some questions out there relative to Dada's health. Obviously, we have nothing official. The only thing that we can say is that he had been nursing an injury that kept him out of a few games toward the end of the regular season. He did not start, but he did play a significant amount of time against Fitchburg earlier in the week on that ankle. We know that he had not practiced prior to that injury. He went right into that Fitchburg game without a practice day. There's been 1 day of practice, and then now going in for yet a second game. So we know that he did not play, I believe, the entirety of the second half here in this one. We don't have anything specific. We know that it was not an acute injury. We know that he was not taken off of the court. So beyond, we know that he has been nursing an ankle for the last week plus. We know that he played not the entire game against Fitchburg. He came in off the bench. He started the game tonight. So we certainly will not speculate. We know there has been a nagging injury that has been an issue, but other than that, we do not have any specifics relative to his condition.
And an opportunity, Kate, for you to bring us the final stats. As we once again thank our friends at Ashburnham Westminster Community Access Television for providing that fantastic coverage this evening from the new gym at Oakmont Regional. Certainly enjoyed the opportunity to be able to bring this one to you as we come back inside the RFM home studio. And Kate, your chance to bring us the final stats for the final basketball game of season 2021.
Well, before I begin, and I know I should probably just read the stats, but I want to make sure that I I stress the following. Leominster knew going in that they needed to play their best basketball, and they needed to get some help from Oakmont, which they got in their last meeting between the two. Oakmont was pretty cool or cold in the entire first half. That was not the case in the ball game tonight. When you hear some of these statistics, they're going to be very telling as to, number one, why it was such a difficult task for Leominster tonight, and why Leominster's defense was not able to hold the Spartans below their season average points per game. So let's first go with the Oakmont side of the ball. Team totals first. 35 rebounds, 2 steals, 17 turnovers. They were 7 of 7 from the free throw line. 7 of 7. That's 100%. They had 3 players that were in double digits for scoring. So they had the point guard, Hugh Leckie, ending his night with 14 points. Pridgeons ends his night with 16. Kirkland ends his night with 19 points. They also got scoring contributions from 4 other players. Aubuchon hit that 3 late in the fourth quarter. Beausoleil had 5 points on the night. Ryan Hulecki had 2 points on the night. And Arcangeli ends his night with 8 points. On the flip side, on the Blue Devils side of the ball, team totals first, 22 rebounds, 5 steals, 14 turnovers. They were 9 of 13 from the free throw line. They started off cool and were able to warm up as the game went on. The team high scorer for the night for Leominster was Nico Delicai, the birthday boy, with 14 points on the night. The other double-digit scorer on the night was Warren Asias. Other scoring contributions for the Blue Devils come from 6 other players, so they did distribute the ball quite evenly amongst the team. Viola ends his night with 5 points, Meissen with 3, Halstead with 3 points, Perez ends his night with 9 points. Tyson ends his night with 4 points. Dada with, we know what will be a disappointing 2 points on the night, but he did not play the entirety of the second half. His 2 points came in the first quarter. And again, Nico Delicai with 14 points on the night. So very telling. Number one, rebounds were an issue, especially in the first half. And we counted probably 4, 5, even maybe 6 offensive possessions from Oakmont just to start the game where they were perfect. They scored points on every single one of their possessions to start out this game. Very difficult if you're a defense to be able to try to recover from that. And Leominster's defense has been prolific all season long, but very difficult when a team is firing on that many cylinders with 3 double-digit scores, and most of them were in the mid to upper double digits. They were close to 20 points with all 3 of those players. That's a humongous ask if you're a defense. So that's kind of where the statistics lay out.
And you had Asias for 10 points, if I'm not mistaken.
I had to see us for 10.
And that 10 points tonight, in addition to his play on the defensive end of the floor, certainly was crucial for the Blue Devils tonight. And I think that's really going to be the name of the game, is that Leominster came into this one knowing the task at hand, knowing what they were up against. And again, it was that question, how far out in front would you let them pull? And once they pulled past that 12-point margin again, got themselves into the 14, the 15, the 16 at one point in time. I believe it grew to as much at 17 at one point in time throughout the first half of action. And from there, it just went from bad to worse. Leominster was always trying to play catch-up, and it's just hard to overcome.
And that's a great point to make as well. One of those things that we talk about. If you take a look at Oakmont, at the end of the first quarter, they were up by 10. At the end of the second quarter, they were up by 13. At the end of the third quarter, they were up by 16. And at the end of the game, they were up by 19. So that lead starts at 10 points by the end of the first quarter, and it just slowly embered throughout. And it was not as if they had to do anything, stellar at that point. They just had to build on the lead. They just had to match and maybe do, a bucket or 2 better than Leominster. And that's all that they needed to do. That first quarter was crucial, having that 10-point lead. But again, it was not because Leominster was doing anything poorly. It was just that Oakmont was doing things exceptionally well, especially on offense.
Indeed, they were. A special brand of basketball. Congratulations to Coach Dan Ortiz and his Oakmont Spartans. A well-deserved perfect record of 10-0 on this 2021 basketball season. What a year. I mean, what a year. It was a team that was not exactly, quote-unquote, completely older and not exactly completely younger either. We'll call it a team of middle age.
You're in like the sweet spot.
They were right in that sweet spot, Kate. I think you're absolutely right. I mean, if you looked at the starting lineup, you had Bo Soleil and Arcangeli, who were the seniors in that starting lineup. The Uleckis are sophomores in that starting lineup, so they'll be back hunting players coming around in the years to come.
And Greg Ulecki will be on people's streams.
And he'll be right again when he says that, if that type of play keeps up. And then you have Jalen Kirkland, the junior, as part of that starting five tonight. And then you have Obashan, a senior. And then the rest, Pridgeon, Curtis, McKenna, and Pantojas, all freshmen. So they have a lot of time to develop in that process.
Say Pridgeon was a freshman?
Excuse me, Pridgeon's a junior.
Okay.
Curtis is a freshman right underneath
try to
him.
tell
Yes,
me.
no, yeah, I was going to say.
My word.
Oh, my. No, Pridgeon is a junior.
Okay.
The rest. So Marchant, Pridgeon, Kirkland, all juniors, along with Quinn Sugar, juniors as well. So that senior class from next year.
One more.
My, oh, my.
Yes, one more item. Final score tonight, 67-48, Oakmont on top of Leominster. That was the final score. So that's probably the most points Leominster's defense has given up all year long. So Leominster just did not have the answer tonight. And again, it was not for lack of effort. It was not for lack of they didn't have a situation where they played poorly. It was just Oakmont was that dang good, especially on offense, and they're rebounding, especially on the offensive end. And when you go up against a team and they're able to out-rebound you not once, but usually at least 2 times every single time they have an offensive possession, the thought that they're going to score, the chances that they're going to score are going to go
increase
they go up
dramatically.
exponentially
Yes.
at that point, especially when you're that proximal to the bucket. The other item of note, I was tabulating, you had Leominster hit 3 3-point shots in the game, and they missed 13 from 3-point range. So 13 missed opportunities, and they're being out-rebounded significantly. So that means 13 offensive possessions that Leominster essentially just gives up the ball because they're being out-rebounded, 2-1. So it's an interesting situation. I mean, you're certainly not going to go out there and say, hey, by the way, you're not to attempt 3-point shots. It's, if you're going to attempt a 3-point shot, you need to also, have somebody there to rebound.
It certainly has to be a quality opportunity as well. I'll further on to Beth Spinelli's question of the final score. If you missed any part of this one or any of the basketball games featured here on Rivalry Family Media throughout the year, or any game for that matter that we cover, you can find them on YouTube, available on demand right now. This game will be up within about an hour or so. It will be out there on YouTube for you to be able to relive over and yet over again. YouTube.com. Search Rivalry Family Media to find our YouTube channel for on-demand coverage.
I think that the Ulecki family might do that.
This one, if nothing else, you might want to Memorex it if there is no other reason to say that. But yes, indeed, all games available. No doubt about it. All games available on YouTube, YouTube.com. And you can search Rivalry Family Media. Subscribe today. Anytime we do post a game up there, you get a great notification that comes right into your smart-enabled device, and it'll tell you something is up there that you might want to check out as well. Live games will continue to be here always. Facebook.com/Media Rivalry for your live game premieres here on RFM.
You ready for football and volleyball?
I was going to say, football and volleyball are on deck here. I am excited about this. I know volleyball has been one of those sports.
My cousin Joanna is watching. Tell Aunt Pat, Joey, Kate and Todd, every single Leominster home game for girls volleyball will be covered coming up here in the wedge season for fall 2. She and UK will have treats abound.
A plethora of
treats
volleyball
abound,
to see.
At least a game a week for Aunt Pat and UK.
We talk about this often when it came to RFM and kind of its founding and its starting and what have you, and in part these types of projects, being able to cover sports that traditionally haven't fit in our normal coverage windows. When we talked about covering a golf match earlier this year with Coach Darryl Robichaud's group, that's not a sport that, although it can be done on the radio, it's very difficult to sell that it's a great radio product. But it works really well if you can get the cameras and get the video and then be able to edit it together and record. And that's what we found with that project. That's what Rivalry Family Media is for. And that's where, of course, lo and behold, this COVID situation comes up. Athletics, the complete world gets tossed off kilter, as I heard somebody describe it recently. And you know what? It kind of is the perfect place to feature these kinds of sports. Kate and I have had things on our punch list. Golf was one of them. Volleyball's been on the list, so we'll take care of that over the months of March and April and bring those 6 home games to you. Then I know we have swim meet. It is on our list, swimming and diving. One of those things. Kate can't wait to play the routing gains to my Dan Hicks. In this coverage as well.
Can't wait.
So the things that are to come, RFM continuing to grow and the opportunities to come in the
probably
years
just
to come
means
as well.
that other than softball, which was the traditional girls' spring sport, other than of course girls lacrosse wasn't around when not that I was able to run worth a darn, so that was out. But tennis, I was asked to play girls tennis when I was in high school. But swimming and volleyball are fairly offbeat sports, but if you know how much I enjoy running, you know that field hockey and soccer, I wasn't going to see a field. So there wasn't a field that I was going to be on. I would have been bringing up the rear there. So
you mentioned tennis. That's on my punch list of sports to make sure that we
outdoor
hit somewhere
wrestling
along the way.
apparently.
Outdoor wrestling. I mean, come on, for no other reason other than they're going to try to contest an indoor sport outside. That's worth seeing where that develops and where that conversation goes.
I know that they have been struggling. The word that I've been getting, struggling to determine how the masks will get handled because they are a choking hazard in wrestling.
Among other problems,
that may turn into potentially what causes that maybe not to move forward. Obviously, we are not tapped in to the wrestling world here in Massachusetts, but the little bit that I did hear, they are still trying to. The indoor going outdoor is fabulous and interesting, and I can't wait to hear all about that. But the masks still are a point of contention relative to wrestling, so we'll see how they take care of that.
And for no other reason, the credit to this athletic season goes to the creativity of the administrators involved, the athletic directors at each of the schools all across the Mid-Wach, in particular, as we're most closely associated with. And then, of course, you got to credit all of the other administrators, as you have principals and superintendents that sit on these committees at the state level with the MIAA, trying to provide guidance, as the MIAA themselves is not sanctioning playoffs or any kind of athletic endeavors in that way, which you can understand that from a liability standpoint, mixing and matching statewide may not be the place you want to be.
Can you imagine what this could potentially do to the entire statewide plan?
Not
a year ago, that
was
the constant conversation was about wanting the statewide playoff, and now all of a sudden, not only do they not have a statewide playoff right now, they don't have a playoff right now because they don't want to intermix the groups. Not only that, in most cases, you're not seeing traditional league play. You're having geographical pods. This has been a learning experience, and it's certainly something that has been humbling for a lot of people involved, us included. On a normal night, we would have packed up the family truckster and we would have been all the way out in Ashburnham, but we have these situations where we need to find a way to make things happen, and so voila, Todd is one step closer to getting a full-time studio in the house, and everybody in the world is invited into our living room. So there you go.
And we do certainly appreciate your being a part of our family over the last so many months and in the months to come as well, as we continue to bring these broadcasts to the community via Rivalry Family Media, the K-Zone, WPKZ, talking to those folks today and hopefully trying to move forward the coverage of athletics into the springtime, with football in particular on deck here over the next so many weeks and months to come. And then, of course, you can't leave out our friends at Leominster TV as well, as we try to work things together there to move coverage forward. So there's just so much going on. Stay here with us. Continue to be a part of it. Of course, even if maybe your student athletes or your relative is not continuing on to another sport, please come back, circle back, be a part of this coverage and a part of the community. I know we've had some great folks checking in with us from other communities that were part of the fall pod, that were not part of this pod in the winter, that have checked in with us, that have stayed with us as well here on Rivalry Family Media. As again, we said our close partnership is with Leominster High School, but we do aspire to continue to push out the edges of Rivalry Family Media to continue to work with our friends over in Fitchburg to bring more coverage into the community of athletic events from the Red Raiders perspective, as well as all the other schools in the region as well. And something tells me this won't be the last time we call an Oakmont basketball game, COVID or not, with the way this team will continue to develop into next year as well. And with that, For the conclusion of the winter season, we say thank you so very much for being a part of the last 2 months, 6 weeks of basketball from start to finish. What a race it has been. Credit to the coaches and the athletes all across Pod 6 for the effort and getting everything together and mixing and matching. And of course, most importantly, taking care of themselves and taking care of one another to be able to allow this to continue relatively unimpeded.
Kind of miraculously.
With the process. I go back to what Coach Grudgefield said to me in our very first conversation before we started 6 weeks ago. He said the biggest victory of them all would be if the season goes away exactly as scheduled, if it goes exactly as planned from start to finish. And pretty darn close.
On the girls' side, it did.
On the girls' side, it went exactly perfect. Leominster lost 1 game, and I think there was a limited number of reschedules even among the other schools as most teams got around the 9-10 game mark at the conclusion of the 5 weeks of the regular season, and then, of course, on into if you were invited to continue as part of the top 4 into these playoffs. So that's a credit to the coaches. That's a credit to the COVID protocols. That's a credit to the student athletes making the right decisions. They're not easy by any stretch of the imagination, and we give them a lot of credit for obviously being able to make those decisions to allow this to continue to move on. Once again, our final score this evening. Oakmont finishes a perfect 10-0, putting away the boys basketball Pod 6 championship with a 67-48 victory over Leominster tonight. The Blue Devils will finish their year at 6-5 overall at the conclusion of this pod playoff. For Bill Thomas on assignment and looking forward to getting back with you during the volleyball and football season. He said it via text message.
He
can't wait to come back to be a part of these broadcasts here on Rivalry Family Media. And to all of you, once again, thank you so much for being a part of our family. And until the wedge season, just about 2, maybe 3 weeks from now. For Kate Robbins, I am Todd Robbins, saying thank you so very much for joining us. And until next time, from the home studio, so long, everybody.